So you got Rob Pizzo, you got Mike Russo, you got Jesse Granger, you got a couple days before the season begins. What does that mean, guys? Predictions. We have to do our predictions. Everybody does their predictions. And the best part of predictions, when you're right, you bring them up at the end of the season. I called this on October the 5th. And when you're wrong, you just never happened. You pretend we never said a damn thing. So we got a lot. We've got 15 things to get through. And I want your opinions on all of them. And we're going to cram as many of these in the first segment as we can. You guys ready to go?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Number one, who's going to have more points? Jonathan Huberdeau or Matthew Tkachuk? Big trade in the offseason. Obviously, one of the ones we've talked about quite a bit. We will start this one with Jesse.
I'm going to go with Tkachuk, with the reason being I think these guys are both going to have a period of kind of adjusting, but I think his game is easier to adjust. It doesn't depend on him having chemistry with the teammates. He's going to cause havoc in front of the net. He's going to get tips. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get deflections. Whereas I think Huberdeau, he had such great rapport with those guys in Florida. I think it's going to take him some time to build that in Calgary. Mike?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to go with Huberdeau. And I'm not just doing the old, you got to disagree with the person you're going up against guy. I hate when they manufacture it on TV, but I just, there's something about Huberdeau's game that I just loved in Florida last year. I mean, every game I watched, he just worked his absolute butt off. And I just think that, for a guy that finally really broke out and had a ton of points, I think that's going to translate in Calgary playing for somebody like Daryl Sutter, who I think sometimes people too often look at him as just being this defensive-minded coach. And, the other thing is so far in camp, Tkachuk and Barkov haven't played together. Who knows? That's obviously fluid. That could change very easily. But I'm going to go with Huberdeau right now.
As am I. I'm going with Huberdeau mainly because I think he's got more to prove. I mean, he was shocked. He was upset when the trade happened. I've heard Daryl Sutter with very pro-Huberdeau and very anti-Tkachuk comments in the offseason. I think he's going to give him all the rope he needs to score a lot of points. Vegas has the over-under for Huberdeau at 94.5, while Tkachuk's at 83.5. I think a man with something to prove is kind of like that guy going into a UFA year. The points are going to come. Topic number two, kind of along the same, topic. Who finishes with more points as a team? The Calgary Flames or the Florida Panthers? Mike, we'll start with you on this one.
I think the Flames. I think the easier division. Although I do think that the LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Vancouver Canucks are going to be better this year. But I just think there's more chances to peel off points in that division. And I really like the Flames, especially with that goaltender in Markstrom.
Yeah, I hate to just copy what Mike said, but this division sucks. Pacific Division is bad. I think the Pacific Division is clearly the worst of the four divisions, and I think Florida. Whenever you have that breakout 122 point season, I think you're bound to have some just falling back to earth. I still think they're going to be a really good team, but I think Calgary, even with all the new pieces, I think they're going to have a pretty easy time in this division. There's not, maybe Edmonton is really the only other team that can contend with them for that Pacific title. So it's a much easier path for the Flames. So I'll go with them.
I'm going to make it a clean sweep. Not only is it a shitty division, they got better, which is mind-blowing when you lose 240 goal scorers that your team, at least in my opinion, got better. Topic number three, Nazem Kadri. Will he have more or less points than he did last year? He had 87 points. Jesse.
This might be the easiest prediction we make. There's absolutely zero chance he's getting as many points as he had last year. None. I bet as much money as you want. I don't know what his point total is. The problem is his point total over under is probably way below that, because if it wasn't, the sports books would get hammered with under bets. No chance he matches it. It was an amazing season on a team that was ridiculously talented. There's no chance he matches it.
Yeah, and on that team, you're making sure you focus point is on checking McKinnon, and I think it opens things up for Kadri. So I agree with you. I mean, right now, according to Daily Faceoff, his line mates are Mangiapane and Dylan Dubé. That's not exactly Colorado-like. So I would agree with you. 87 points last year Kadri had. I think it'll be tough for him to reach that this year.
Very, very tough. And like I said, a player going into a UFA season who wants to get paid has that extra motivation. He gets paid. I'm not saying that the motivation completely goes away or anything, but that drive maybe isn't there to put up the points. So I'm going to make it a clean sweep with the no as well. Johnny Gaudreau shocked everybody. One of the biggest surprises in the offseason, heading to Columbus. And of course, as soon as somebody goes there, you think, who are they going to play with? And Patrik Laine's name keeps getting brought up. So here's the question, guys. Will Johnny Gaudreau get Patrik Laine his first 50-goal season? Russo, you're up.
I'm going to go no. I actually like Laine, but I don't like his work ethic on too many nights. And they're just, even watching last year, actually one of those games last year that I was thinking about when Huberdeau, when I was talking about his work ethic, was a game against Columbus where I felt Laine was absolutely dogging it the entire game. So he's going to have to play a harder game and not just sit in that, left face-off circle and swipe pucks. So my guess is no.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess no. Also, his career high is 44. That happened back in 2017-18. To me, when I look at that, he played 82 games that year. He hasn't played over 70 games since then. It's been a while, and he hasn't played over 70 games. He only played 56 last season. I just don't think he's going to be available enough to score 50 goals. You've got to be out there for probably 70, 75 games to score 50 goals. And so far, the last 5 years, it hasn't looked like he can do that.
See, Russo, clearly we didn't agree to disagree because I'm going to make a clean sweep yet again. And here's the reason. I just don't see Gaudreau and Laine being line mates for the entire season. I just don't. Because when you look at Columbus, okay, you've got Gaudreau, you've got Laine and Boone Jenner down the middle. That's a very top-heavy lineup when you look at the rest of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I could see them trying to split those guys up to move the offense around. I just don't see 50 goals from Laine. And I totally agree with Jesse. I don't know if I see 82 games, whether he's playing with Gaudreau or not. We're just motoring along here, guys. All right. Will the Ottawa Senators, who were obviously very busy and a lot of people applauding what they did in the offseason, will they be in the playoffs come season's end? Jesse, you're up.
I'm going to say yes. Because it's more fun than saying no, because they never make the playoffs. Well, at least they haven't in a long time. That division, you've got Florida, Toronto, and Tampa that are clearly the best three. Last year, it was such a big split between the four with Boston and the rest. I mean, it was the Grand Canyon between the four that were in the playoffs and the four that weren't. I think Boston's taken a big step back. I think losing Bruce Cassidy hurts. They have major injury problems, and I think there is, whether it's that top wildcard spot or maybe the second wildcard spot, maybe the other division doesn't take all the spots like they did last year. I think Ottawa gets in.
Yeah, this is a tough one, guys. I mean, I really do like the Ottawa Senators. I was talking to LeBron about this about 3 weeks ago, about how I think they probably had the second best offseason out there with Calgary. But a 27-point improvement would be what they would need based on last year's point threshold of Washington getting in at 100. That just seems awfully high. But I agree with you. I think Boston takes a step back depending on what happens with Marchand and McAvoy and how long they're out. There are teams to me that aren't nearly as impressive this year. But 27 points, I know I'm sort of waffling and not giving an answer. I just think it's going to be awfully tough. So I'm going to go no.
I'm going to waffle a bit too. Here's what I will say. Ottawa Senator fans will have a reason to check the standings for most of the season. That's what I'll say. I think they'll keep it interesting, and they're definitely moving in the right direction. I'm with Mike in that the numbers just don't add up for that quick of a change. I know they're saying the rebuild is over, and you got to pat Pierre Dorian on the back at what he did in the offseason to keep this team moving in that direction. The Cam Talbot injury certainly doesn't help, but this division is tough, and it's going to be tough. Next year, maybe that's a whole other story. Let's talk goals, guys. Auston Matthews knows how to do it. 60 last year. Does he do 60 again this year? Jesse.
So usually when a guy scores a career high, you think, okay, his shooting percentage was off the charts. It's probably not going to do that again. I went and looked. Auston Matthews actually had a lower shooting percentage this year than he did last year. That's incredible. To me, that tells me, yes, he can absolutely do it again. His shot totals have gone way up from 222 2 years ago to 348 last year. That is a massive jump. I think.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I was betting the over on Auston Matthews shots per game almost every game early on.
There you go.
They kept setting it at 2.5, 3.5 shots a game. I'm like, you'll get that in the first period. But continue. I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. I think between the increased volume of shots and I think the power play, the other big difference from the year before to last year when he made that big jump jump in goals is he only scored 3 power play goals the year before. That jumped up to 13 last year. I think Spencer Carberry, he's the guy that kind of runs that power play. I think he's a great power play mind. He was a guy that I thought Vegas should have looked at to hire, so I did quite a bit of research on him. I think the Maple Leafs power play is going to keep clicking. Yeah, I think Matthews can score 60 or more.
I agree. I mean, he didn't score, I think, in 6 of the first 7 games or 5 of the first 6 last year. I was thinking that with even Kaprizov here in Minnesota, he had 47 and he didn't score in the first 8 games. I covered Pavel Bure when he scored 58 and 59 goals in a clutch and grab era in Florida, and it's still one of the most exciting teams I've ever covered, just watching him play. And you look at Auston Matthews right now, and the fact that this league is just getting more and more offensive. Like, I don't think that last year in a league that it just felt like we were in that soft puck era. It just felt to me like that's not going to change. The way the rules are now, I just think that Austin's going to continue to thrive. And I see that this league, as offensive as it was last year, I think it's going to continue to produce major offensive totals, and Austin's as good as it gets.
I think he hits 60, and I think he flirts with 70. I think we actually talk about a possible 50 and 50. I think he scores in such bunches that if he doesn't get off to that slow start, we're going to talk about it. He scored in 41 games last year, and in those 41 games, he had 60 goals. It's what he's doing and the type of goals he scores too. Like, sometimes he scores from angles that you just shouldn't be able to score on. His release is something like you just don't see anywhere else in the league. He had 20% of the Leafs goals last. I mean, we can just do this all day. I think 60's right in there, and I think he flirts with 70 goals. Let's move over to Chicago, guys. There was that era where Chicago was the model franchise. People asking whether or not it was a dynasty, 3 cups in 6 years, and now we're asking the question if Jonathan Toews and Patrik Laine will still be Blackhawks by the end of the season. Russo, we'll start with you on this one.
It's a good question. I mean, like Kane, I'm telling you, I was just in Milwaukee the other day, guys, and Kane looked miserable. And he looked like he was going through the motions. Now, how much of that was just playing a preseason game in Milwaukee, which a lot of veterans don't want to get into. But he just, he just didn't look like himself at all. And, I think that they're going to want to get themselves out of there. And I think they're going to make that very clear to management. And so my gut says that at least one of the two gets traded this year. And I can see it being Kane.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Kane. I think if this team is looking to rebuild, which they clearly have, I think the last couple of years they've been delaying it. They've been in denial that they need to rebuild, and they've been trying to get guys like Seth Jones. But I think based on their moves this offseason, I think it's clear that they have finally realized it's time to rebuild. And I think the one guy you can get a lot for is Kane. I mean, this guy is an elite goal scorer. There's going to be a contender, whether it's now or at the deadline. And I think at the deadline, he becomes even more valuable because that cap hit is so minor. Once you get to that far in the season, I mean, you only have to account for that small percentage that he's got left in the season. I think at the deadline you can get a pretty penny for Kane, and it's going to be too hard for them to turn that down. That's going to really help jumpstart the rebuild.
Keyword, you said there was elite. He's still elite, he's a guy who's won Stanley Cups who can help a team do so and knows how to do so, and is still. Those hands just won't go away for a long time. And Patrik Laine will not be a Blackhawk by the end of the season. I agree. Jonathan Toews, I could see that move not happening. Alexander Ovechkin, the freak that he is, scored 50 goals again last year. So the question was asked, will Ovi score 40 or more goals this year? I'm going to go first on this one, guys, because something that's happened 12 times since 2005, I'm not betting against it happening. I used to think the 894 record from some guy who wore number 99 on his back was unreachable. I'm not necessarily saying that anymore. He starts the season 145 goals away. I think it's crazy that he scored 50 goals in his 17th NHL season. That's bananas, and I'm never betting against him not scoring 40, so I'm going with yes. Jesse, you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you said it best when you said it's happened 12 times. What are we doing even debate? It's going to happen again. And if it doesn't, that'll suck. But I'm really hoping that it does because, man, it's fun to watch that guy just stand in that circle and beat goalies from the same exact spot over and over and over again. I think he does it. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, let's just make this a quick one. Yes.
What other player could literally go to the goalie on the other team and say, this is where I'm going to stand, this is where I'm going to shoot from, and just...
Good luck.
Go out and score 749 goals.
Or just the opposing penalty kill. Like,
Right.
I mean, it's just like, I just think it's hilarious. Like every single pre-scout for every single coach in the league says, this is where he's going to score his power play goals from. Stand there, block it, do something. And yet he just stands there and scores. It's just magnificent to watch.
Well, we're going to probably talk about a coach getting fired at some point this season, guys. So let's look into our crystal ball. Who's the first one to get the pink slip? Jesse.
Yeah, I really had a hard time coming up with this one. Part of me said Laviolette because I think the Capitals might underwhelm, but I think the one, like Hackstall is the one I'm going to go with. And the reason I waver on this is because I don't think Hackstall's that good of a coach. I think Seattle can do better, but I don't know how patient they're going to be in Seattle. They're clearly taking the long-term approach here, and part of me says, no, they aren't going to fire Hackstall no matter how bad they are because they are taking this 6-year approach to try to build this team. They're building through the draft. I don't know, but I do expect Seattle to be bad again. I think maybe the expectations are a little higher with some of their young stars finally starting to play. So I'll go Hackstall. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think the most pressure is obviously on Sheldon Keefe. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think the most vulnerable is probably Bruce Boudreau. Just being in the last year of his deal, they only were willing to give him the option, not extend him 2 or 3 years. And the other thing with Vancouver, once they gave JT Miller that long-term extension, that to me says they want to win now. And a team that has Pettersson and Horvat and JT Miller up the middle with that goalie and Demko, there is a lot of pressure to win now. So they better get off to a good start. But the guy I'm going to go with is Dallas Eakins. Second year GM. Usually when a GM comes in there, you're going to want your own guy. This is already, I think, Dallas's 4th year there. I do think they've made moves to show that they still, even though it's a building situation, they're going to want to win there. So I'm going to go with Dallas Eakins.
It's interesting. Sheldon Keefe is the favorite in Vegas as the first coach to get fired, which I agree the pressure's on, but this team doesn't have problems winning in the regular season. I mean,
right.
It's going to be tough to fire.
Yeah. The reason I don't pick him is because someone's going to get fired before the Leafs lose in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. So when and if the Leafs lose in the first round, I agree. Sheldon Keefe may get the axe, but this team's going to challenge for the President's Trophy, in my opinion. It's just a matter of when they can get to the playoffs. I'm going to quickly contradict myself a little bit here. I do think the Ottawa Senators are going to take a big step forward, but if they don't, I think DJ Smith goes. I think they are at a point where we've heard it now 2 years in a row. The rebuild is over, and if they're going in the wrong direction, I can see them wanting to make a change. All right, guys, this is a little more rapid fire. I want your answer. I want a quick sentence as to why you picked that answer, because these are picks that everyone does. Mike, last place team in the NHL this year. We're going to go way out on a limb. I have a feeling this is going to be another clean sweep.
Maybe not. I'm going to go Hawks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why the Hawks?
I just think they suck. Absolutely. I mean, again, they brought a pretty representative lineup the other day, and that team is just bad. You got 2 goalies in net that, maybe, Mrazek hasn't played a ton in the last couple of years. Same things with Stalock. Just not loving that team right now.
Jesse.
I'm gonna go with the Flyers because I think Tortorella makes them hate their lives by the end of the season, and they all just want to quit hockey. And I think the Arizona State Coyotes are going to get a boost from that awesome facility they're playing in with the intimate environment. So I'm gonna go Flyers, worst team in the league.
I thought we'd all be going with the Arizona Coyotes are proud to select Connor Bedard with the first overall pick. I think they're going to be so horrible. I was looking at Dom's model. They have a 0.03% chance, or about 3,001, of making the playoffs. Not winning the cup, making the playoffs. I'm going with the Arizona Coyotes. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. President's Trophy. Jesse.
Colorado, they're the best team in the league, and it's not close. I think in the playoffs, crazy things can happen, but over a regular season, they're the best team.
Ditto.
We clean sweep this one. That's interesting. We didn't clean sweep how terrible Arizona is going to be, but yeah, we're all on board with the Colorado Avalanche. I wonder if we're going to be on board with this one. Rocket Richard Trophy. Mike.
Auston Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, I just argued why he's going to score over 60, and I don't think anybody's going to score more than that. So,
and Matthews, you called him, Rob, you said 70. So
I said 70. So unless someone's going to score more than 70, it's Auston Matthews. Norris Trophy. Mike.
Oh man, that is a good one. I'm gonna go Yossi. I still think that he is just, right on top of the league and just everything. And obviously I watch him a ton between Minnesota and Nashville. I still think he's not taking a step back anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's either Yossi or Makar. I'm going to go Makar. He might win it every year for the next 10 years. But until people get tired of voting for him, and I don't think we're tired of voting for him yet, so he's going to win it.
I think Yossi's offensive totals always make people think, but when you watch Cale Makar and how he controls the game, he is the best defenseman on planet Earth. He's just incredible. Hart Trophy, the big one, the most valuable player, ... to his team, which we have to remember. Mike, we'll go with you on this one.
I'm going to go with McDavid. I know that we're going to have Daniel on here in about a second here to talk about the Edmonton Oilers, and I guarantee, one of the big things here this year is just talking to him at the NHL Media Tour a couple weeks ago. McDavid is just, determined to make amends for what he feels was an embarrassing showing by his team against the Avalanche last year in the Cup semifinals, and I just think this guy's going to come in ready now with the goaltender and Jack Campbell. Let's be honest, Jack Campbell's not the reason why the Maple Leafs lost last year. I think that team is going to be really good, and then when you have McDavid just driving the bus, I'm going to go with McDavid.
Yeah, I'm going McDavid also. I think he's the best player in the world, and I think that he kind of sees all the talk about Auston Matthews. Is he catching up to McDavid? Is he as good? Look at all these goals. Nathan McKinnon got all the love all summer long about how a lot of people say he's better because his team won. I think McDavid is more motivated than he's ever been to prove he's the best player in the world.
You talked about voter fatigue, kind of getting tired of voting for somebody. I think we're getting there with McDavid, so I'm going with McKinnon. Not too many players like him. Can score, can pass, and man, is he fast. All right, the big one, guys, how we're going to end this segment. Their Stanley Cup champion. Who wants to go first? Because this one, I could tell you both are still kind of debating on who you want to take. So, all right, I'll pick Jesse. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'm not. This is not a convicted answer. I'll tell you that. It's so hard to pick. I mean, the Avalanche are the best team, but I don't want to pick them to win it back to back. I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that we talk about how you always try to find the next team that's going to copy what the last team did. They've been close, just like Colorado has. They've had really, really elite regular season teams that just haven't shown up in the playoffs. I think Freddie Anderson may not be elite, but he's the best goalie they've had there. I think they made some great moves in the offseason. Paul Stastny, Brent Burns, I think is going to bring a lot, especially to a team that holds the puck in the offensive zone as much as that team does. I think it's going to bring out his strengths and hide some of his weaknesses that were kind of showing in San Jose. I like what the Hurricanes did. If they can get Max Pacioretty back miraculously after that Achilles tear, it'd be even better. That team's stacked. I'm going to go with Hurricanes.
Man, that's who I was going to go with, so now I have to change it.
No, you don't.
I'm so glad I went first.
I do wonder where Carolina could have gone last year if they had a healthy Freddie in there. He obviously had the injury. You know what I'm going to do just for the fun, for shits and giggles? I'm going Toronto. Just like I say Ottawa can't get a 27-point improvement to make the playoffs, but somehow this team that can never win in the first round is going to go and win the cup. But I believe in Dom Luszczyszyn. I can't spell his last name, but I believe in him. And his model says that's the team to beat, right? So we got to go with we got to trust our analytics expert, and nobody has better models than Dom. So I'm going with Toronto.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
We're going to see Matt Murray parading that cup down
the Conn Smythe with the Conn Smythe right beside him too, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm doing this, guys. But when you think about it, having the two best offensive players in the world on your team and one generational player usually means you win a Stanley Cup. I'm going with the Edmonton Oilers. I think they finally got a full, nice supporting cast where it's not McDavid and Draisaitl or bust. I think it's been an upgrade in net. I think everywhere around this team got better. And I think last year really showed a step in the right direction. And if they could get Jack Campbell to play well enough to get them to move along, they'll outscore any team that stays close. Obviously, Colorado's a huge hurdle they'll have to overcome. But yeah, I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers. So there, guys, that is our crystal ball predictions, 15 of them. And like we said, the rule is this. If we are right, we will go back to this YouTube channel and play this clip over and over again. If we are wrong, we never said a thing.